Today, I'm going to be talking about how I have been working on a video game, and thoughts on how I could do it better. Also, if you want to playtest this video game, you can go ahead and head to a link. It'll be in the description or in the cards at the top right of the screen. Anyway, the game is called Kitchinko, and I made it with GameMakerStudio 2, and right now it's available on gx.games. So I started off by trying to get the shooting mechanics to work. I was able to use left and right arrow keys to get it to aim where I wanted it to, but the goal was to get it to follow the mouse, and that's what I was able to do and showing off here on screen. After I got it to follow the mouse, I decided that I needed to get it to shoot. So I started creating balls that would just shoot at the mouse, and it started to work, and then I added in a little bit of physics. There's a whole physics engines that GameMakerStudio 2 uses. I think I want to do that next time, but I didn't do it this time. I did, however, get to watch the balls bounce, and that was okay, I guess. Yeah, so thoughts on doing this next time. I think that what I want to do is create more of a sound physics engine before going on to making the next parts of the game, because I kind of have been fixing things as the entire process has gone on. And yeah, I wish I had added sound effects, because I think that this screen right here would have been cool with sound effects. In this screen, you can see I go to hit play, and I was going to show something off. It was going to be awesome, it was going to be great, except I failed because I didn't record the right screen. Here, I think, is me recording the right screen this time. I wanted to show off that when I'm aiming at the top left here, the ball is not hitting it, so I've added gravity, which is good. But the problem is, I didn't have the gravity correct, so I thought maybe I could be real smart and do some Desmos math to be able to make it work. I spent a lot of time on this, and I failed, because I should have just gone through and done better trigonometry. See, I used trig after high school was done. I was wrong. My younger self was wrong. How could I? I was such a fool. Anyway. I made the same mistake here of putting the game not in frame of my recording. Welcome to this screen, where I'm really upset at the way that the cannon looks, but I don't change it until later. The cool thing is, the ball bounces and bounces off the pegs. Alright, I updated the game a little bit, and the ball now just bounces indefinitely, and every time that it hits the peg, it loses some velocity and will eventually break those pegs. Oh, and now past version of me has something to say about the game.
Hello. Take a listen. Okay, so update on the game. Hitting play. Notice I now have red pegs. Those are the target pegs. They've got little plus signs in them. When you shoot them, they light up and everything. It's incredible. And then they also disappear. So that doesn't seem that incredible, but let me show you why it's so incredible. And it's essentially because I'm finding it incredible because it took me a long time to do. That's why I think it's incredible. Here in GameMakerStudio, we have this setup. Notice how none of the pegs are lit up. What we're using is this little guy right here, which is, I don't know if we're gonna find him here, Special Selector. Now, I spent a long time writing math in just paper and pen, trying to figure out how this would work, and have used very little of it, but it was helpful to get me started and start debugging and finding issues with it. The problems that I'm finding, I was able to get through. Anyway, this goes through, creates a blank array, then it adds all of the pegs, the object pegs, into that array, and then it loops through again real quick and says, oh, update some of them to being target pegs. And so then you've got your room, which starts off blank with very few, with these pegs. The cool thing should be that now in any room of any size, I will be able to assign the number of pegs that I want.
Wait, pause. Okay, that loop that I did right here, this for whatever, that was really smart of me looking back on it, because what it allowed me to do was go and add in new pegs so that then I could have square and corner pegs as well as pegs that follow paths instead of just updating this one type of peg, because I had that architecture built out like that, and I didn't like manually go in and tell it, oh, find each thing individually, each instance of the thing. That was a good job. That was smart. Good job. Pass to me.
Because I've got targets for this room, 10. And maybe I'll end up needing to use an array to change that for like a huge number of levels. But for now, it's working as is.
Okay, so the really cool thing is not that this level happens the way it is, but if I click main menu, it actually just brings me to a new level. And look at that. All of these pegs were randomly chosen by that object selector. So having something that can find all the instances of a thing and then do some loops so that then they can be randomly assigned is pretty good. I want to remember that if I'm ever going to like create just random enemies and then give them the probability of spawning with different weapons and stuff. That way I don't have to like go in and manually choose each one every time. Okay, I added my past self again here.
Okay, hello. So currently the situation is that when I shoot into a square peg, which you can't see right now because it's out of screen, but it hits into the peg and then waits for a moment and then shoots through. So whatever the setup is with the square peg that I've got going on, it's in such a way that the ball doesn't just shoot through it. So that's pretty exciting. I don't think it has anything to do with these, but I'll show them anyway. Because maybe it has to do with the fact that you create a new instance a moment after, and then it's like, oh, what am I doing? And then it eventually shoots through. So maybe it has to do with this, but I know for sure it has to do with the fact that, well, I don't know for sure, but I'm very confident it has to do with it's not running into a object peg square, so I need to duplicate it and then change it. So, or create a collision with a object peg square. And then I probably should be using, so now that should fix it. And but like fix it so that it bounces like a normal peg. But if I want it to be a cobweb peg,
I failed to show the
then that
correct
could work,
screen again.
But
lol.
Yeah, okay. Now it bounces off of them, and they disappear. Booyah. Okay, thanks. Hello. So this is the intro page for the game right now. If I click play, it brings me to this screen, and when I aim, which I can do just by moving the mouse, and then shoot.
Okay, while past me is talking, I'm actually going to talk over him because he's talking about something, and that's important and cool. But what I failed to do really bad in this whole video clip is I did not document a lot of the steps that I was doing by videos. So I'm not entirely sure of every big benefit that I should remember for the next game that I make. So that's pretty sad. That's an L.
Graphic user interface before I try to send it out to people. I'm gonna call it Kitchinko, and you're gonna.
I'm not calling it Kitchinko. I'm calling it Kitchinko.
Different.
Because it's like pachinko. Haha.
Through this level real fast. Also, you won't have 25 when you play. If you end up playing, you being whoever's watching. I just have 25.
Okay, also, past me was talking about how I had 25 balls and people don't get that many when they get to play through, and how when people play through, they won't get that many.
Oh, also these green ones are supposed to do something, but they don't yet.
Problem with that is I should have just given myself a cheat code to unlock all the levels, or just set the number of unlocked levels to being the same amount as there are, so that then I could playtest all of the later levels without having to go through all the earlier levels every time I made a change. But I didn't do that, so I wasted a lot of time because I didn't have a way to basically teleport or open up the right screen when I wanted to.
Thanks for paying attention. So here's the game. I updated it a bit. I need to figure out what's wrong with this, but I did get it to actually work a little bit, so when I hit play, you'll notice that I can actually cycle through that. And when it's off, you shoot and there's no sound. And you can add the sound back in. And I did a bunch of this other GUI stuff. So that was, hopefully it'll stick. Okay, love you, bye. Hello! Okay, so I did a bunch of work. I added a bunch of levels in, and I have a level selecting screen now. And I built it as a parent first, so that then the child will look different.
Okay,
than the
so
parent.
this building levels as parents is huge. I'm pretty sure it's an object-oriented programming thing just everywhere, where you create a parent class and then the children class that are like, oh, we inherit a lot of the properties from the parent, and then you can modify each of them. That was, like, I've been told that before, but I never got it until I've been working on this and got to this far in. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Remember, parents, they're pretty good.
Alright, cool. So now I have it, and it's published onto the website, which I'll put somewhere, and you can play it if you want to. So notice these aren't green anymore because color blindness is a thing. I just want to say that I love going through and changing lots of little things, like numbers like this, because I didn't initially create variables for them. This is one of my favorite parts. I just very much
Okay, it's not actually my favorite part.
I obviously do, because otherwise I would
need
change
to
it.
remember that next time I make something, if a lot of things get updated and they all have the same value, until I prove to myself that I want to give them different values, I should create a single variable called special peg score update, or special peg point value. So that then I could have set that at the top to 500, and then when I changed it, I could just switch the 5 to the 4 at the top of the step. It would have made a lot of this go a lot faster, so I wouldn't have to scroll through all of those. And now, this is kind of where I'm at today. The graphics are all where they are. They are what they are. You know what I mean? I'm kind of happy with them. I'm happy enough to keep going, and I think that is a huge thing, because in the past I've tried to do things and been like, oh, I need to make sure it's perfect before I can go forward. But what I've realized is it is better to make 30 tables, one every single day, than to make one table over 30 days. Especially when you're starting out, because when you're starting out, you're probably not going to be good enough to like make really intricate details work super well. And so I want to remember that I'm starting out in most things right now still. And so I can put a lot of time and effort into something, but at a certain point in time, I just need to cut it off. Especially, like, this is a creative project, and so if I don't cut it off, it will just be me eternally trying to tweak one little detail, and that'll never work. Or never work the way I want it to. What I'm talking about here is I couldn't find a piece of code, and I was scrolling up and down. I don't think I labeled it that well. So I also don't have any comments next to it, so I'm not telling my future self what it is.
There.
So I
I really love
comment
that
Anyway,
got
the game
it. Okay, I did
as it
find
sits is very
I was just gonna say, I love that. I don't know where this is at, but I did find it. So I guess maybe I keep it there, so then it's there when I need it, and then after it, I do an if current level.
I don't think it's perfect yet. But as a wise person once said, the cost of perfection is infinite. So that's the game as it stands. If you want to playtest it, you can for free. Anyway, thanks. Love you. Bye-bye.